what sets your soul on fire? I think that changes for me every month, week, and day, but ultimately it will always revolve around making the people that I love happy. And I don't mean that in the sense of doing what will please them, even if it doesn't please me, but I mean just being kind and doing little things that I know will make them happy. And ultimately, that makes me feel fulfilled and sets my soul on fire. And I think beyond that, art and design and anything to do with aesthetics will always set my soul on fire because that's just a part of my fabric. So looking at pretty things and making pretty things also sets my soul on fire. But I think those two things, making people smile and making pretty things, is what sets my soul on fire.
Cara,
Hi.
are you happy?
I'm happy because I see the end.
Do you care if a stranger on the street is happy?
Yes, because I think that I'm like a sponge. I'm like very in tune with other people's emotions. So if someone else feels happiness or someone else smiles, then I'm like,
do you think it affects
happy.
your emotions?
For sure.
Okay. And do you care if I'm happy?
Of course I do.
Why?
If I care if a stranger is happy, I care if my best friend is happy.
Okay, that's good.
If you had asked me this question a year ago before lockdown, I would have probably said that they don't have a heavy influence on my life. But since I've spent a year in the corner of my bedroom, not being able to look at strangers every day, I've realized how much they influence me and my work and where I find my inspiration. I think I find my inspiration in people rather than things and objects, but I find my inspiration in everyday people and seeing how they behave, how they interact, how they go about their day, what they're wearing, how they're pulling it up, how they're carrying it, if they're happy, if they're sad, and sort of finding commonalities within that. So I think strangers really quite heavily influence who I am and the work that I produce. I find that strangers are very interesting to observe because you don't know anything about them or their story for the most part, yet there's an immediate judgment that always comes with seeing a stranger. It makes me feel very sad. Yeah.
Why?
It makes me feel very sad because I feel like I can feel their pain even though I have no idea what they're going through. But like crying is a very physical thing. If it comes to the point where you feel like you need to exert your emotions that way, it must be quite painful. So it's painful to watch.
Why do you think it's common within society to ignore our problems along with other people's problems?
Because we're inherently selfish. We always have been.
But we're ignoring our own as well.
I don't think that's always the case though. I don't think we ignore our own like we ignore other people's. I think we acknowledge our own and perhaps choose to brush it to the side because that's sometimes easier. But when it comes to other people, you don't even acknowledge it. It's more just like it.
Do you think society makes us feel like that? We shouldn't have to acknowledge other people's emotions?
I don't know if it's society or if it's a generational thing so much, but I think that our generation is much better at being like, you can't keep going with your day-to-day stuff and not acknowledge your mental health. I think it goes beyond the complexities of just recognizing sadness when I pass a stranger on the street. I don't feel immediate sadness. I mean, more often than not, I think I feel complete nonchalance and a certain element of blasé about the whole thing. It's I would only recognize someone else's emotions on the street if they were a stranger, if it was outwardly
Prominent to you.
if they were displaying them in an outward emotion.
And do
versus
you think that's just humans? That's the way we are? Or do you think it's our generation? Or do you think it's the way society has set it for us to feel that way about strangers? Or all the above?
Perhaps all the above. I don't know if I know enough about it to answer that question, but in my opinion, it's probably a very mixed concoction of all of those things. Like, we are taught it's fight or flight, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's fight or flight. It's
you either recognize it or you don't.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you have to be selfish. I think we're constantly taught to worry about ourselves.
We walk around within the society knowing people only from screens. Does it occur to you how that same person may like their coffee? Or if they feel successful and happy in life? Sonder makes you realise these very same strangers you pass every day have hopes and failures just like you. They have the same emotions as you.